We will be making a pyramid using dominoes and Blender, and then use physics to make animation. If you are an absolute beginner, you can check out my previous and easier tutorial on how to make a domino run in Blender as shown on the screen. Link is in the description. Open Blender and delete everything in the scene. Add a plane that will act as ground or floor for our animation. Add cube. Put it on top of the plane. This cube will be our domino. In the edit mode, scale it to make the form of a domino. Bevel the edges by pressing Ctrl B. In the object mode, right-click and select Shade Smooth. Arrange the dominoes in a position so that it makes easier to apply Array modifier on them. Place a domino horizontal on the plane. Duplicate it by pressing Shift-D and place it on top right side of the first domino. Duplicate again and place another domino beneath it. The arrangement should be similar as shown on the screen. This way we can easily add these dominoes using Array modifier and form a shape of a pyramid. Add rigid body to any domino by going to Physics tab and clicking Add Rigid Body. Change the mass. Copy the rigid body settings to all the dominoes by selecting All Dominoes. Go to Object, Rigid Body, Copy from Active. The active object should have rigid body applied to it. Similarly, you should add rigid body to the plane so that dominoes have ground to collide with. Just change the type from active to passive since the ground is stationary. Press spacebar key to play the animation and see if your animation plays as shown on the screen. I think we should change the position of this domino for this tutorial. Add 2 supporting dominoes beneath these dominoes. Keep checking if the animation works correctly. We will join these dominoes by pressing Ctrl J so that we can use Array modifier to make the pyramid. Rigid bodies won't work properly when they're joined like this, so we will separate them once we finish with the pyramid. Add Array modifier by going to Modifiers tab, Add Modifier, Generate Array. Set the count to your liking. We can see that the dominoes nicely line up with each other because of the arrangement of the dominoes we made earlier. We are going to use multiple copies of these dominoes to stack them onto one another to make the pyramid. To make things easier, we are going to use Array modifier for one side and then mirror the other side. Add Mirror modifier by clicking Add Modifier, Generate, Mirror. Change the mirror object to the plane. This way it will mirror around the origin of the plane, which is currently placed at scene center. We have mirrored the dominoes, but we see that there is some overlapping and the mirror dominoes do not continue properly. First, manually separate them by selecting the dominoes and moving away from the origin in X-axis. We're going to manually add in a domino arrangement to overcome this problem. Duplicate the current domino run object by pressing Shift-D and remove all of the modifier. We are left with the single domino run arrangement that we made earlier. Adjust it in the gap between the 2 domino run. Go to Edit Mode and delete the extra domino on the side by hovering over your cursor on it, and press L key to select and delete it. You can move its origin to center by selecting it. Right-click, set Origin and Origin to Geometry. To make the shape of a pyramid, we're going to duplicate the domino runs and give it the shape of a triangle. We're going to stack domino run on top of each other until we get a perfect triangle shape. We don't need the supporting domino at the bottom of the domino run to be duplicated when we stack them on top of one another. Thus, we're going to separate them. In the Edit mode, select them by pressing L key when your mouse cursor is over them. Press P key and select by selection to separate the selected mesh. Also, do this for the domino run with the modifiers applied. We see that the distance between the bottom dominoes changes when we separate them. To fix them, enable the constant offset option in the Array modifier and adjust the distance as shown. Now that we have separated the bottom dominoes from top dominoes, applied Array and Mirror modifiers, we can simply keep duplicating and stacking domino run on top of each other, while changing the number of dominoes on each level. Duplicate the top dominoes and place it on top, and change the count from Array modifier to change the number of dominoes. This is what it will look like. Remember that if you play animation right now, it will not play correctly because we are using Array modifier and we have joined some of the dominoes. Just keep duplicating and make a triangular shape. Before we play the animation, we need to apply all the modifiers, separate every domino, and set their origin point. Select all the dominoes. Make sure that the active selection has all the modifiers. Hold Alt key and apply modifiers. This will instantly apply modifiers to all objects. Separate each domino by selecting all, go to Edit Mode, press P key, and select by loose parts. This way, each individual domino will be separated. Next, set origin point of the dominoes. In Object Mode, right-click, Set Origin to Geometry. We are set for our animation. Now, make sure that the rigid bodies are applied to the dominoes and plane, if not apply them first like shown earlier. We will need to initiate the domino chain reaction. Duplicate one domino from any end, place it beside, tilt it using our key, and increase its mass from the rigid body properties. Press spacebar key to run the animation. The animation runs till 250 frames. This is because the animation limit in Timeline and Rigid Body Cache is 250 frames. To go beyond this, we need to change it. Change the cache limit by going to Scene Properties, Rigid Body World, and Cache. Similarly, change the end limit of the timeline. If the animation seems slow, you can change the speed from the Rigid Body World in the Scene Properties. Set the end limit of the timeline and Rigid Body Cache where your animation ends. We don't need to render extra frames. Apply materials to the dominoes and ground. Select all the objects on which you want to apply the materials. Apply the material on the active object, and then from side menu as shown, select Copy Material to select it. I've used different color combinations here. Next, I'm going to set up the lighting and camera for the scene. I'm going to animate the camera for the scene. For lighting, I usually use 3-point lighting system. I use 3 area lights with varying intensity, and sometimes I use a sunlight to illuminate the scene properly. Finally, set the output settings and the format of the video or image sequence you prefer from the output properties, and then render the animation by pressing Ctrl F12. It will save to your chosen output location. Hope you liked the video. Please leave a feedback. See you next time.